welcome the rare gems. Not everything that is silent is empty. Some things are just too full to speak. That's the Sigma female. Not loud, not showy, not always easy to figure out, but deeply full in ways most people will never see. Her mind is wired differently. While the world praises those who blend in, seek approval, and play by the rules, the Sigma female quietly rewrites her own. She doesn't do things for applause. She doesn't crave attention. She thinks deeply, moves with purpose, and keeps her circles small and her standards high. And that's why most people just don't get her. They call her cold, when really she's just precise. They say she's too independent, when in truth, she's just not willing to lower herself to fit what's expected. What looks like mystery or distance on the outside is usually just self-respect in disguise. She isn't rude. She's just focused. She isn't unfeeling. She's just tired of explaining herself to people who don't really want to understand her anyway. To all the Sigma females reading this, you're not broken. You're not too much. You're not too quiet. You're exactly what this noisy world needs. Someone who thinks before they speak, someone who values peace over popularity, someone who doesn't follow the crowd because she leads herself. You don't owe the world a performance. Keep being exactly who you are, grounded, powerful, and unapologetically rare. Let them wonder. Let them misunderstand. That's their limitation, not yours. Let's get started. Number 1. Sigma females built an inner world where outsiders are irrelevant, because they had to. Most people grow by bouncing off others. They seek approval, feedback, even conflict, just to feel real. But Sigma females are a different breed. They don't need to be seen to know they exist. They don't need applause to feel accomplished. While others are out chasing validation, she's building a quiet empire inside her mind. A space so rich, so layered, and so sharp that most people couldn't survive 5 minutes inside it. This isn't about arrogance. It's about survival and self-respect. You see, Sigma females didn't wake up one day and decide, I'm going to be mysterious. Life made her this way. She learned early on that the world rarely sees people like her for who they are. So instead of wasting time trying to fit in, she walked away from the noise and built something better. A world that isn't influenced by shallow trends, fake smiles, or meaningless praise. In her world, clarity comes from reflection, not chatter. Her decisions don't run through groupthink. They come from hours of brutal honesty with herself. She questions everything, not because she's difficult, but because she refuses to follow anything blindly. That's why outsiders, especially the manipulative, the shallow, the controlling, can't touch her. Their words don't register. Their games fall flat. She's not ignoring them to be cool. She genuinely doesn't care. She's trained her mind to run on logic, intuition, and inner truth. External noise, completely muted. To the Sigma female, solitude isn't loneliness, it's leadership. She creates, heals, grows, and evolves in silence. Not because she fears people, but because she values herself more than empty company. And the truth is, people often misunderstand what they can't control. But she's not here to be understood, she's here to be real. And that's exactly why she's so rare. Keep building your inner world. Let outsiders remain just that, outside. Number 2. They're not trying to impress you, and that's exactly the point. The Sigma female doesn't walk into a room looking to be liked. She's not fishing for compliments, approval, or attention. She doesn't wear labels to signal her worth. She knows who she is, and that quiet confidence unnerves people who are used to others putting on a show. The truth is, the world runs on performance. People exaggerate their personalities just to feel accepted. They laugh a little louder, smile a little longer, and say what's expected just to fit in. But the Sigma female? She doesn't play that game. She shows up real, unfiltered, and unapologetic. And when there's no act, no pick-me energy, most people don't know what to do with her. They call her intimidating, distant, or aloof. But here's the twist. She's not trying to distance herself. She just refuses to shrink or shapeshift for someone else's comfort. This lack of performance isn't arrogance, it's self-mastery. She's stripped away the need to be seen to feel valuable. She's not chasing followers, likes, or validation. She's not here to impress. She's here to exist fully. And in a world that rewards conformity, that kind of authenticity is rare and a little bit threatening. But that's the magic. She doesn't impress people by trying. She impresses people by not caring to. That level of freedom, the kind where you don't need to explain, prove, or apologize, is magnetic in a quiet, dangerous way. So if you've ever felt like you didn't quite fit in because you weren't willing to perform, good. That's your power. The Sigma female path isn't about being understood by everyone. It's about being true to yourself, even when no one claps. And believe me, that's what real strength looks like. Number 3. They experience freedom and isolation as the same thing, and they don't flinch. For most people, being alone feels like a punishment. The silence is too loud, the stillness too confronting. But for the Sigma female, that silence is sacred. It's not loneliness, it's liberation. She doesn't run from being alone, she runs toward it. Why? Because in solitude she sees things clearly. No noise, no pretending, no distractions, just raw reality and razor-sharp self-awareness. She knows that deep understanding of herself, of people, of the world, only comes when everything superficial is stripped away. And that kind of clarity doesn't come cheap. It costs her comfort, popularity, even relationships. But she pays it gladly. Most people don't get it. They assume she's detached or antisocial. But here's the truth. She feels deeply. She's just not willing to trade truth for temporary companionship. Shallow conversations bore her. Surface-level friendships drain her. So she walks alone, not because she has no options, but because her peace is worth more than company that doesn't understand her. Freedom and isolation aren't opposites in her world. They're one and the same. That's what makes her so powerful and so misunderstood. She doesn't cling, she doesn't beg, she doesn't chase. She observes, reflects, and moves with intention. She's not lonely, she's aligned. And while others may feel the need to constantly be seen, to feel real, the Sigma female knows who she is in the dark. No audience needed, no spotlight required. That's rare, that's strength. So if you ever find yourself alone and clear-headed, don't run from it. Lean in. That space, that solitude, it's not emptiness, it's the making of something unshakable. Just like her. Number 4. They don't want to be understood, because to them, that's vulnerability. Most people long to be seen, to be known, to be understood. But not the Sigma female. She doesn't crave that kind of connection. In fact, she avoids it intentionally. Because for her, being understood isn't comforting. It's exposure, and exposure means risk. You see, a Sigma female's depth isn't some poetic trait for others to admire. It's a defense system. She's built it brick by brick through experience, pain, and razor-sharp observation. Her silence, strategic. Her mystery, chosen. Not because she's playing games, but because she's protecting the one thing the world has no business touching, her core. When someone tries to figure her out, she doesn't lean in, she steps back. She redirects the conversation, shifts the focus, maybe even disappears for a while. Not out of fear, but out of discipline. She knows that the more people understand her, the more they'll try to control, define, or misuse her. And she's not here for that. To most, this makes her feel distant or guarded. But that's not quite it. She's not hiding. She's choosing. Choosing who gets access, who gets silence, and who gets nothing at all. Her inner world is not a museum. It's a fortress. And not everyone deserves the key. The Sigma female doesn't avoid vulnerability because she's broken. She avoids it because she's seen what people do with the truth. And she'd rather protect her peace than gamble it for connection. So if you ever feel like she's hard to read, that's not an accident. That's her boundary. And behind it, a mind that's always watching, always thinking, always choosing itself first. Not cold, not cruel, just untouchable by design. Number 5. They treat emotions like data, not directions, and that's what makes them dangerous in the best way. Yes, Sigma females feel, and they feel deeply. But don't mistake their calm exterior for emptiness. What you're seeing isn't the absence of emotion, it's the mastery of it. Most people let their feelings take the wheel. They react without thinking, they explode, they chase, they break down, and then regret it later. But the Sigma female is wired differently. When she feels something intense, she doesn't immediately act on it. Instead, she pauses. She steps outside of herself, almost like a scientist, and studies the feeling. Why am I angry? Is this fear in disguise? What triggered this? Am I reacting to the present or to something from the past? This kind of self-awareness makes people uncomfortable, because we're used to emotions being messy, loud, and dramatic. But the Sigma female's emotional world is like a lab, clean, organized, and brutally honest. She doesn't repress her emotions. She interrogates them. She breaks them down, separates the signal from the noise, and asks, "What's the truth behind this?" And once she finds that truth, she acts calmly, clearly, and with precision. No drama, no confusion, just clarity. That's why she seems so emotionally detached to others. But it's not detachment. It's discipline. Emotional control isn't her weakness, it's her weapon. So if you ever feel like she's not reacting the way most people do, that's not by accident, that's by design. She's not letting her emotions run the show. She's letting them inform her. Then she makes the call. That's emotional intelligence on a whole different level, not reactive, not explosive, just real, refined, and razor sharp. Number 6. They're a mirror you might not want to look into, and that's exactly why people either admire them or avoid them. The Sigma female doesn't try to provoke anyone. She's not out to expose people's weaknesses or call anyone out. But just by being who she is, she does something most people can't handle. She reflects the truth back at them. She doesn't need approval, so people start questioning why they crave it so much. She doesn't follow trends, so others start to wonder if they've just been going with the flow to fit in. She doesn't pretend, flatter, or play along, and suddenly people realize how often they do. That's what makes her so unsettling. She's not attacking anyone. She's not judging. She's just present, quietly observing, fully grounded, completely self-contained. And that presence alone can feel like a spotlight on someone else's insecurities. People start to project. They'll say she's cold because they're emotionally needy. They'll say she's intimidating because they're uncomfortable around someone who doesn't play by the same social rules. They'll say she's too much because deep down they know they haven't fully met themselves yet. It's rarely about her. It's about what she unintentionally reveals. The Sigma female is a psychological mirror, and the reflection she gives isn't always pretty. That's why people either try to get closer out of fascination or push her away out of fear. It's not personal, it's truthful. And most people aren't ready for that level of self-exposure. So if you're a Sigma female who constantly feels misunderstood, just know you're not doing anything wrong. You're just holding up a mirror in a world full of people still avoiding their own reflection. And that's a power most can't even name, let alone match. Number 7. They hide strength in the opposite of what you expect, and that's what makes them unstoppable. Most people are taught that strength looks a certain way, loud, bold, in your face. That power means taking up space, dominating the room, and demanding recognition. But Sigma females flip that script completely. They don't show off their strength, they disguise it. While others shout to be heard, the Sigma female stays silent, not because she has nothing to say, but because she's already said it to herself. Her silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. Her calm isn't passivity, it's precision. She knows that real power doesn't need to scream, it just needs to exist. You expect influence to look like charisma and spotlight moments, but the Sigma female influences by absence. When she pulls back, people notice. When she detaches, they chase. When she says nothing, they overthink. That's not manipulation. That's presence, quiet, firm, undeniable. And confidence, most people flaunt it. They overcompensate. The Sigma female does the opposite. She doesn't need to prove anything. She doesn't need to convince you. She walks like she's already won because internally she has. Her validation doesn't come from claps, comments, or compliments. It comes from the mirror. And even then, she barely needs that. She's strong, but you'll miss it if you're looking for the usual signs. You'll think she's soft until you cross a boundary. You'll think she's passive until she walks away with no explanation. You'll think she's quiet until you realize she heard everything. So if you ever feel underestimated, misread, or overlooked as a Sigma female, good, that's your camouflage, that's your edge. Because real strength doesn't perform. It waits, it watches, it wins in silence. And number 8, she's not performing femininity. She's redefining it. The Sigma female doesn't act feminine just because the world expects her to. She's not soft just to be liked. She's not sexy just to get attention. And she's definitely not nurturing just to feel needed. She's not performing femininity. She's redefining it on her own terms for her own reasons. She's not interested in fitting into society's narrow ideas of what a woman should be. She doesn't care if people find her too blunt, too bold, or too quiet. She isn't here to make anyone comfortable. She's here to be real. And real doesn't always come with a smile, a soft voice, or a carefully filtered life. What makes her so hard to understand, and so threatening to some, is that she doesn't need a label. She's not trying to be the good girl, the boss babe, or the dream wife. She's not asking for permission to be who she just is. And that level of self-possession, it throws people off. She doesn't decorate her life to be admired, she builds it to be lived. Her version of femininity might look cold to some, too assertive to others, or completely unreadable to those who only know how to connect through stereotypes. But the truth is, she isn't cold. She's just clear. She isn't aggressive, she's just unapologetically sovereign. The Sigma female is the kind of woman who makes people uncomfortable, not because she's doing anything wrong, but because she isn't playing along. She doesn't flirt to be liked. She doesn't cry on cue. And she doesn't soften just to be palatable. She's the blueprint of a new kind of woman. One who doesn't need a role to play because she's too busy writing her own script. And if that makes people nervous, good. That means it's working. Number 9. She thinks long-term, feels short-term, and that's why you can't shake her. The Sigma female sees the bigger picture when most people are stuck reacting to the now. While others get tangled in temporary highs and lows, she's already thinking 5 moves ahead. She doesn't just live in the moment. She observes it, processes it, and lets it pass. This is what confuses people the most. How can someone feel deeply, yet stay so emotionally neutral? How can she care without clinging? How can she commit without getting consumed? It's because she's trained herself not to make permanent decisions based on temporary emotions. She knows that most emotional spikes, anger, excitement, jealousy, disappointment, are just data, signals, not instructions. So instead of being dragged by how she feels in the moment, she steps back and asks, "What's this teaching me? And how does it fit into the long game?" You might think she doesn't care when she doesn't react the way most do, but she does care. She just doesn't let short-term emotions rewrite the blueprint of her life. She'll walk away from something that once thrilled her if she sees it doesn't align with her future. She'll end relationships without chaos if she knows they're holding her back. She doesn't need closure to move on. She needs clarity, and once she has it, she acts. That's rare. Most people stay stuck in emotional loops, chasing validation, explaining themselves, hoping to fix what's already broken. But the Sigma female, she moves differently. She feels, but she doesn't cling. She plans, but she's not rigid. She adapts, but never abandons her long-term vision. That's why she's so hard to read, so hard to hurt, and almost impossible to manipulate. Because while others are reacting to now, she's quietly building a future that doesn't depend on anyone's approval but her own. Number 10. She doesn't need the world to mirror her worth because she's already seen it for herself. Most people walk through life like mirrors, constantly reflecting back what others see. If the world praises them, they feel valuable. If it criticizes them, they question everything. Their identity is built from the outside in, brick by fragile brick, shaped by applause or disapproval. But the Sigma female, she flipped that whole system. She doesn't wait for compliments to feel valid. She doesn't need reassurance to feel enough. Her worth wasn't handed to her. It was discovered in silence, built in solitude, and reinforced by how she moves through the world, not how the world moves around her. When someone compliments her, she accepts it, but it doesn't inflate her. When someone criticizes her, she listens, but it doesn't destroy her. Why? Because she knows that external opinions are just noise. Useful sometimes, but never essential. Her identity is built inside out. That means she defines herself before the world even gets a chance to speak. She already knows her strengths. She's well aware of her flaws. And most importantly, she's not confused about who she is just because someone else doesn't understand her. That's what makes her so steady, so centered. While others are tossed around by praise and rejection, she walks through both like a calm storm, untouched, unbothered, and laser-focused. It's not arrogance, it's self-grounding, a quiet knowing that her value doesn't rise or fall with public opinion. So if you can't impress her with flattery or shake her with judgment, now you know why. You're dealing with someone who no longer needs mirrors, because she became her own reflection a long time ago. Number 11. Her empathy is intellectual, not emotional. Most people expect empathy to feel warm, soft, emotional, like someone stepping into your feelings and sinking there with you. But the Sigma female doesn't operate like that. She won't cry just because you're crying. She won't panic when you're panicking. She doesn't feel what you feel. She understands what you're going through, and that's her form of empathy. She doesn't mirror your emotions, she breaks them down. While someone else might offer a hug and say, "I know how you feel," she's already a few steps ahead, silently figuring out what's actually driving your pain. She'll ask the question no one else dares to. She'll give you the truth, not just comfort. And that's where people misunderstand her. Her empathy isn't emotional, it's intellectual. That means she can sit with you in your mess without becoming a part of it. She doesn't get overwhelmed by emotion. She studies it. She listens deeply, watches carefully, and gives insight instead of reaction. Her help may not come with tears, but it comes with clarity. To people used to emotional hand-holding, this feels cold. But in reality, it's the opposite. It's precise. She doesn't waste words. She doesn't fake sympathy. She gives you the kind of support that makes you think, that makes you grow, that makes you face things you'd rather avoid. Is it comforting? Not always. But it's real. And that's what sets her apart. She's not the person you go to for emotional validation. She's the person you go to when you're ready to hear the truth and actually do something about it. That gap between emotional warmth and intellectual wisdom, that's where she lives. Not because she lacks compassion, but because her version of compassion is clarity. And clarity, for the Sigma female, is the highest form of love she can offer. In final words, the Sigma female isn't trying to be mysterious. She's just not interested in being decoded like a puzzle. She values truth over attention, depth over comfort, and peace over popularity. That's why people often walk away from her confused, intrigued, or even a little threatened. She doesn't bend to make others feel comfortable. She doesn't soften herself to be liked. And she definitely doesn't play by rules that don't make sense to her. If you're a Sigma female, understand this. You don't need to be understood to be real. You don't owe the world your transparency just to make others feel secure. What makes you powerful is that you trust yourself, even when nobody else gets it. In a society obsessed with labels and categories, you remain unboxed. While others search for belonging, you build your own peace. And while most people follow paths laid out for them, you carve your own quietly, steadily, without needing applause. Yes, your psyche may be hard for others to grasp, but that's not a weakness. It's a sign you've risen above noise, drama, and distraction. So don't dilute your depth to be more digestible. Keep showing up as you are, whole, unbothered, and fiercely self-aware. Because the truth is, not everyone is meant to understand you. They're meant to respect you. And one day, they'll realize the quietest woman in the room was the one holding the most power all along. Thank you for watching The Rare Gems, and God bless you.